I'm going to be honest with you, this is the first time I have attempted a dating spirituality crossover talk. So I don't know if this fusion is going to work out, but hopefully I'll impart on you a few very, very useful tips that are going to help you to engage with people better. Because what I find is when people come to work with me a lot of the time, and this is something I'm going to reveal and I probably shouldn't, they get a nasty surprise because they expect me to, I don't know, teach them some chat-up lines, maybe a bit of sexy body language, maybe to give some good eye contact or how to kiss someone. And then they come and sit down with me and I usually start by going, right, okay, I think we should do some meditation or something first. At that point, half the people leave. And the other half stick around, because what I found out is with dating and going out and meeting new people, you might think it's about having, or what's the right thing to say when you first see someone, how do you ask someone out, how do you feel, how do you be that sexy person that other people are naturally attracted towards. And you can have all those questions and there's funny little logical answers for them, like funny chat-up lines that you can find or YouTube videos that will show you how to approach another person. But actually, I found that really being amazing at meeting more people and connecting with more people and having a dating life where you're meeting loads of people very regularly essentially boils down to two very simple things, which is feeling all right to say hello to someone or not extremely stressed, and then being able to do that consistently. So when you think about it, I think that most people I work with and most people I meet are very interesting people. If you think about how you engage when you're around your best friends, how you are when you're with your family, when you feel really comfortable, when you feel really relaxed, maybe when you feel really sexy. Everyone in here, I bet, can be a sexy, amazing creature. I know, though, for instance, getting into that state of mind is probably the most difficult thing to do, particularly when we meet somebody new. So I want everybody in here to begin with the premise that it's not that anybody is more or less dateable than anybody else. I think human beings are generally very interesting. It's just some people, when they meet another person, find it a lot easier to let their natural self come out. And other people find it the most terrifyingly awkward experience in the world, which means they don't represent themselves very well. They say stupid things that they would never normally say. They feel tense. They feel like they have to put on some kind of performance for the other person. They feel like there's certain rules that they should probably be abiding to and that they're failing miserably in executing. So what I want you to understand is actually when you facilitate yourself to be at your most comfortable, at your most relaxed, at your most expressionate, and you really are just the true meaning of being yourself when you meet somebody else, things tend to go pretty well. However, that is easier said than done, and a lot of the dating or lifestyle advice that you might have heard so far will probably have done something to screw you up on that journey and to put lots of wrong ideas and thoughts into your head about how you should be engaging with other people. So what I wanted to go through with you guys today is just really 3 very, very simple steps that you can take to help you facilitate being more of your best and most natural self when you meet new people. And I'm working, as I said, on the premise that when you do that, everyone's going to be much, much more attractive and much sexier to the people that you meet. And actually, this is what I go through when I'm coaching and when I'm teaching. It's never about delivering a line or giving somebody, a routine or something funny to say that doesn't really feel like them. It's not about women out there pretending to be some kind of ice queen or being mysterious or stepping back. It's not for guys having to be the super duper macho man. Instead, it's actually about how do I just be myself when I'm around new people, because I only want to attract people that I connect with naturally. I only want to attract people that I'm organically meant to get along with. So surely if I represent myself well, if I could just say what I'm really thinking and feeling, people would be into me. And everyone in here should feel that about themselves, that if someone knew you, if someone read the autobiography of your life, that they would absolutely 110% want to date you. But obviously, getting into that state of mind where you feel like relaxed and happy and with no alcohol or other stimulants involved takes some work. And that's usually the first thing that I help people with. How I'm going to put this is the first thing I'd like you guys to think about is actually that state of mind that we get into before we meet somebody else. And this could be anything from approaching a stranger in a bar that you think is quite sexy, to going on a first date, maybe if it's an internet date and you haven't seen them in real life before. Immediately, that starts to feel really stressful. And whenever we're in a state of stress, it's like the opposite energy to what we would ideally like to meet somebody in. So the first thing is really how we could take a step back from that and make you feel calmer and more happy and more relaxed. I know that when I'm out with particularly my male clients and I'm teaching them maybe to do something crazy like approaching women on the street, initially the state of mind they're in is kind of like war zone. That's how I would put it. They start breathing really, really deeply, and they're like, their attitude is they see a woman that they like and they go, oh God, oh God, oh God, oh God, I better just do it. And they approach going into a date or meeting a woman, and women, I think it's more like when they go on a blind date, with the same mentality of, I'm throwing myself off of a cliff here, possibly to my death. I'm going to my execution. These are the kind of states of mind that people get into and approach dating with. Obviously, when you approach a stranger and in your mind it's like a war zone, or you feel incredibly stressed out or incredibly tense, the first thing that anybody ever picks up on is that energy that you have inside of you, that state of mind. And so if that state of mind is war zone or awkwardness or anxiety, the other person will feed off of that, and they are either going to take give you a wide berth, or it will cause that same feeling to kickstart in themselves. So really, it's about before you even walk through the door onto that date, before you even walk up to a person, how do you get yourself into the frame of mind where you're going to exude a happy and relaxed energy? And there's a couple of very simple things that you can do. I know, for instance, when people go in and whenever we do something we don't like, for me it would be, I don't know, if I had to go on a roller coaster or something, I'm really not keen. Whenever we force ourselves to do something we don't like, our breath changes. We usually go, and then we lunge. You might have found that when you were at primary school or something and had to do like the race or something before you'd start yourself up and go, okay, I'm just going to do it. Now, actually, that really sharp inhale of breath and then the hold of the breath sets off a nervous response with our nervous system, which basically tells our body, let's release some adrenaline here, this is going to be bad. And that kickstarts a response which puts us in a state of mind, in a state of stress. So something as stupidly simple as controlling our breath before we go into a stressful situation, breathing in and out through our nose for a count of 4, so in for 4, out for 4, so that we're communicating to our body and therefore our mind that actually this is something that's very relaxed. I'm totally chilled about doing this. Because I want you to think about it this way. If approaching a person that you find attractive or going on a date can sometimes feel like you're stood on the edge of a diving board or maybe a cliff or something, and there's a big drop and the sea is crashing around beneath you, and there's probably a T-Rex behind you snapping at your heels, and you know that you have to jump into the water. You know, otherwise you're going to get eaten, you have to do it. But you know that when you're looking down at that water beneath you, it can feel like you just go, oh my God, I have to do it, jump. Now, when you do that, you hit the water hard, like really hard. If, however, you took a few moments, you know, the T-Rex, he's 10 meters off, you'll be able to do it, to breathe and also to ground yourself and to prepare your body before you go into what you're doing, you're able to achieve a much better degree of mental control. So the two very simple things I would suggest people to do is that breathing, so breathe in for 4, breathe out for 4, and one little postural thing that will help you to feel more grounded and more centered. Because actually, if you can feel very strong in where you're standing and you can get the energy, I would say, from the earth to feel really rooted and really grounded and really relaxed, that's also a much better way to feel. A very simple way of doing that is just to take one step out to the right or the left, so you have about 12 inches between your feet. Why this is good is because when we stand and we shrink ourselves down to a very, very small amount of space, and when we're very symmetrical, we're communicating that tension. We don't appear very socially comfortable. So by taking a footstep out, so we broaden our stance and taking up more space, it's a way that we communicate to the outside world that we're more comfortable with where we are. And then what I want you to do, and this sounds really wacky, but it does work, is to press your big toes into the ground. And I'm doing it now. And a weird thing happens, which probably looks like I'm sort of like maneuvering my hips towards you, is it tightens up your inner thigh muscles and then your hip flexors and then your stomach and then the shoulders kind of go back. So you immediately get good, very, very strong posture and you're very, very firm where you are. Now immediately, if you can just before you walk into that bar or into that date, if you can just ground yourself, shoulders back, roll your arms open, If anybody does any yoga here, you might recognise this particular stance. Then you're actually going to be not only communicating to the outside world that you're very comfortable, but you're also sending all the right cues to your body to say, let's just relax now. Okay, so that's one thing that you can do. The next thing that I would suggest is focusing on how you feel internally. Again, because when you go into meeting other people with a state of stress or a state of anxiety, that's what the other person immediately picks up on. People worry a lot about what's the right thing to say, either on a date or when you meet someone new, and people stumble over their lines and the words come out in a jumbly order. But what you've got to understand is it really genuinely isn't about the words that you say. That's why somebody can be that really annoying, very charismatic person who can get away with saying absolutely anything they want, and the other person finds it like super charming. I name no names, Marcus Oakey. And however, you can go and be there on your best behaviour and have read the rules, read the game, watched some YouTube videos, thought about what you're going to say, and it can still sound like utter rubbish and make the other person feel incredibly awkward. So as soon as we just let go of the idea that there's a good thing to say, and instead think it's much more important the other person feels good around me. Now, I think hopefully everybody in this room will appreciate that how another person feels in your company, it's a self-emanating thing. You have to begin with having that feeling within inside yourself, and then you pass it to the other person. It's like contagious. That's why the best salespeople are just extremely enthusiastic. And the most attractive people are the people that are positive, the people that have that deep-rooted sense of self-esteem and happiness within them. I'm actually going to steal a Marcus Oakey-ism now, but I think it's a great metaphor. He said that people are sort of like oranges. When you squeeze an orange, what comes out? Orange juice, yeah. So it's like what you have on the inside, as soon as you're put under a bit of pressure, just leaks out everywhere. So you know what? If you feel rubbish, that's the first thing that's going to come out as soon as you feel a bit of confrontation and a bit of pressure. Now, working on shifting to make yourself feel good about yourself can sometimes be, a lifelong journey that we all try and work on. However, in that immediate moment before you go and say hello to a person or before you go on that date, a really, really smart thing to do is to begin to think about how you can foster that feeling within yourself. And so sometimes when I'm working with people, and if you go to my slight plug YouTube channel, youtube.com/Hayley Quinn XX, because somebody else got Hayley Quinn first, you'll see that there's a new video that I put up of me working with someone and getting him to approach women. And what I ask him to do is not to learn any lines. I just go to him, so how would you like a woman to feel when you first say hello to her? And he goes, I don't know, like, And I was like, okay, that feeling, you need to build that in yourself first. So think consciously, instead of thinking about what you're going to talk about, what topics of conversation are acceptable, what to say, all those other things that are really going to bog you down and just make you inside your head and tense and stress. So much better just to simplify the whole process and think, the most important thing here is for me to think about how do I want this person to feel? How would I like them to walk away from that date feeling? When you have that, most people will say nice things like you'd like the person to feel happy, or you'd like the other person to feel relaxed, or maybe attractive or sexy. Now, the other person will never ever feel that way unless you can begin to feel it in yourself first. So if it's about feeling happy, if it's about feeling relaxed, you want to take some time to, if you're standing there, I would say to validate yourself internally. If I'm ever doing anything stressful and I'm starting to notice that I'm getting nervous and freaked out, the first port of call I'll go to is I'll kind of kick my own butt inside my head and go, hang on a second, Hayley. Come on, this is a minor thing. You're the girl that's done this. You've overcome this challenge. You've done this really cool thing. You did that other thing last week that was probably scarier. So you start there to build up your own sense of esteem. Walk into that room or walk over to that person feeling deep inside of yourself and reminding yourself about why you're so great. A nice little thing that everybody should also do, and this is a bit awkward as a subject matter on Sunday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But you also want to make note of when you feel at your sexiest and when you feel at your best. Because often returning to that state of mind will help you to give that to another person. And I think everyone has days or moments when we feel like ridiculously sexy, and other points where we feel ridiculously awkward. I am definitely in that zone myself, but I always try to consciously become more aware when I feel good. Often you'll feel at your sexiest when you're doing something you're very competent at, when you're doing something that you feel is really you, that you feel you have a degree of proficiency in, that you feel is very in line with how you see yourself as a person. That could be an aspect of your job, it could be public speaking, it could be when you're helping somebody else, it could be when you're dancing and when you're getting into your body. Whenever you have that feeling of sexuality, you need to notice what gets you into that state of mind, because it's that state of mind that you want to exude when you meet somebody else. There's the old dating adage that confidence is like a really sexy thing, and I think confidence is a funny on and off emotion. But I do believe that when somebody is very comfortable with their own sexuality, completely regardless of physical appearance, if they feel sexy and if they feel happy, other people will find them magnetically attractive. So your job really is to do some research and development and become more aware of when you feel in that state of mind. Is it during yoga? Is it during tango? Is it when you're standing sort of on a stage speaking to people? When do you have that feeling? When you have that feeling, recognise it, make a note of it, put it in your iPhone, I don't mind. And then you want to be able to start consciously returning to that. Then also you want to feel that you have that feeling inside of yourself, nurture it, wake up every day, spend 5 minutes thinking about it, remind yourself that you are that sexual person, that you are that confident person, that you are that happy person. And then before you walk up to that individual, you return to that place and you also think, how do I want them to feel? How do I want them to feel? How do I want them to feel? And sometimes having that question on loop inside your head, and really, really, it's like you have to feel that energy. It's like almost in your core it begins and you push it out of you. Sounds mental, but it is completely true. And then when you meet a person, I would suggest thinking about how can I transfer this awesome energy? How can I transfer it really efficiently to the other person? How can I get them to really, really, really feel it? Now, often that will mean that you have to do more things of engagement. Lots of traditional dating advice will tell you, make good eye contact, smile, maybe go for a touch, like shaking someone's hand or giving them a hug or something. Now, those are usually items that are told that you have to do like a checklist. But really what they are all doing for you is they're great communicators of how you can build trust and attraction with a person. Because when you have eye contact with someone, it's like you can zap them what you're thinking. And also when you have that physical point of touch, even if it's very simple, like saying, hi, my name's Hayley, so nice to meet you. As soon as your hand goes out and the other person holds it, like a magical thing happens. They realise that you're not a psycho or an axe murderer, and they get actually that feeling, whatever you're carrying inside of you, that orange juice is going to come out really effectively. So before you walk up to them, before you go on that blind date or that normal date, if you've worked on making sure that feeling inside of you is a really good one, and then when you move over to a person and you make good eye contact, you smile, and you have that moment of kapow, zing, touch, the other person will immediately get that communication of how you're feeling internally. Now, if you can then shift their mood, if you could shift them to feeling happier, more relaxed, more positive, because you know what? If you're there being chatted up or they're going on a date with you, they feel stressed because everyone feels stressed. It's a stressful thing. If you can make them feel happier and better, then then you're going to start to make them want to see you again, because people see people where they feel good in their company. A very, very wise woman, she was actually an escort, but, we'll leave that. She was very, very knowledgeable, though, I think, about how to make people feel bloody amazing around her. She said that you need to be like a tree when you meet people. Whenever someone is around you or sitting in your shade, they need to enjoy that presence. They need to constantly associate when they're spending time with you, good things happen. Like birds are singing around them and they get a nice bit of shade from the sunshine. If you give that feeling to a person, people will always call you. They'll always want to go on another date with you. The final little thing that I wanted to share with you is about that conversation. Like, where do you lead it and what do you say? Because this is another area that I see people kind of screwing themselves up unintentionally because they have an idea that there's certain things that you should talk about and certain things that you shouldn't talk about. And they'll go on to a date and they won't talk honestly and openly to the other person because before they say anything, it will go through a kind of an audit process in their mind where an idea will arise within them, or they'll feel something, or they'll be aware that the other person is feeling something. And that idea will creep up, it'll enter their brain, and the brain will just go, I don't reckon that's really appropriate. You're going to sound like a psycho if you say that. That's way too full on. Shut up. And eventually, all that comes out is the most bland, boring, play it safe kind of conversation where no one is going to get an understanding or an appreciation of who you are. So by actually being too rigid and censoring yourself too much and not letting your intuition run when you're on a date, people usually do themselves a lot of injustice. Your intuition is rarely wrong. Even if your intuition is saying, you know what, we kind of have a friendship connection, but this isn't a sexy date thing. Or, you know what, I'm not sure I really agree with what that person's saying. Or, you know what, actually, I'd really like to share this with this person. I feel like I can trust them enough to go there. I feel safe enough around them that I want to say that thing about myself. If that is what your gut instinct is saying, you have to go there and say it. Stop being afraid of the other person not liking you anymore. If you share something that's very intimate to you, that's very important to you, that's something you're aware of internally, and they reject it or there's a big conflict, they're not the right person for you. It doesn't matter. Also, I think what people miss out on all the time is that wonderful ability that we have as human beings. You know, we're very in tune, generally, with what the other person is feeling. So if you're sat across the table from someone and you're thinking, this is dead boring, or if you're sat across the table from someone and you're thinking, I think they're really sexy, the chances are they are thinking exactly the same thing as you. You know, we're very, very sympathetic towards one another's feelings. But the problem is, in England, because of our funny little rules about how we've been brought up, it can feel like the Cold War. You know, it's like no one is saying anything to anyone. We're both just standing here, and then we both build up all these ideas about what the other person might think, so we become really neurotic and anxious, and then nothing happens, you know? There's no sparks or chemistry or anything because everyone is so concerned with not giving the game away and not taking those steps forward. So in order to build an intimate relationship, what I always say to people is, if this is a date, if this is going to be someone who potentially might be like a life partner to you or even just a brief sexual partner, you need to have intimacy with them. It's the absolute bedrock of that relationship. Intimacy is built in talking openly to another person. Part of the reason I'm so tired today is I was up to bloody 5 a.m. talking to my partner. And that's what I love about spending time with him. You know, we need to talk and talk and talk for hours late into the night. Surely that's one of the most amazing romantic things you can do with a person. Now, if you're aware that that's the kind of relationship you want, there ain't no point turning up to a date thinking that you're just going to be on your best behaviour and censor yourself. You know, start as you mean to go on. Because when you do that, you also give the other person permission to speak openly back to you. And when you do that, it's like the most wonderful gift. Because I know sometimes, like, for instance, with my views and feelings about spirituality, I have loads of interesting and weird beliefs. Now, if I couldn't talk about that to the person that I was romantically involved with, I would feel like there's a huge part of myself that they wouldn't understand. I'd feel a lack of connection. So if you're experiencing a lack of connection, if you're having boring dates, if you're having interactions that are very superficial, you have to be the one that takes the positive action to change that. People want to talk. People want to open up. People want to talk about interesting spiritual ideas, bigger concepts. They want to hear what you're actually thinking and feeling. But in order to do that, they need to have permission. And often people aren't brave enough. So you be the brave one. You take the conversation to that level. And if they're a good person for you, if they're a person you're supposed to connect with, they are going to respond well to that. So just to briefly recap, with the dating thing, it's good to actually start to let go of all those rules, of all those ideas of lines that you should use or ways that you need to behave. Because I know that the truth is, if you feel comfortable and happy and relaxed with what you're doing, and you know what you want, and you know yourself, and you're very okay to express what you're thinking and feeling, your dating life is going to be incredible. But getting yourself and facilitating yourself being in that space takes time and effort. However, if you have an interest in spirituality, if you have an interest in how you can actually control yourself mentally, how you can give emotions to other people, how you can feel more grounded, how you can exude sexuality and confidence, how you can speak openly to people because you're able to read them and gain insights into them, these are like amazing tools which you can use at your disposal. So just remember, next time before you go on to that date, before you go and say hello to a person, concentrate on grounding yourself, push those big toes into the ground, breathe, focus on fostering that happy, positive, relaxed sexual energy within you. Go and meet the person, shake their hand, have eye contact, smile, transfer that feeling to them and make them feel incredible. And then when you're speaking to them, when you're at that decision point in your brain where you're thinking, should I say this or not? Say it, definitely say it. Because you're going to take that conversation to a more intimate territory, and you're going to do the wonderful gift of not only making somebody feel better in your company, you're going to let them know that it's okay to speak openly to you. And if you can make a person speak openly and intimately to you, if they feel awesome in your company because you're radiating out an amazing feeling, if they can feel more relaxed about engaging with a person sexually around you, they are going to want to see you again and again and again. And you don't need to worry about any lines or any tricks or any not answering their messages for a couple of days. So I'm going to wrap up there.